What's going on, everyone? Justin again. As always, thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. So I wanted to do this video topic last night, but of course we had the presidential second debate live on Fox News on the YouTubes. I was sitting here actually watching that, kind of called it an early night. Feel like I might have overextended myself, or at least my back, one way or the other, because for the last half of yesterday and then pretty much all day today, my back has just been just off, right? It hurts bad. So at any rate, I took it easy today, hopefully taking it easy well into the weekend to get myself rested back up for, I know no one wants to talk about it because we're in the weekend coming up, right? TGIF. But yeah, we do have Monday coming around the corner after a couple of days off. So I want to make sure I get well rested for that. But what I was thinking about, I don't think we've actually discussed it enough on this channel, to be honest. We did talk about it initially, I want to say back in around March, about the March time frame, right when the pandemic really started to affect everybody. And if you guys recall, I was telling you how really that old saying of, well, you know, keep $100 for emergency, keep $1,000 just in case you need something, tires, right, something unexpected, maybe the water main bursts and you got to pay for that, or maybe you have an inline filter for your refrigerator that starts leaking in the house, or a clogged toilet, whatever the case may be. Really, it doesn't go very far, and we talked about that. And especially the number one thing that nobody planned on was a complete government shutdown, or at least of pretty much 70% of all businesses being shut down. A lot of independently owned businesses were affected heavily by this. All the non-essential businesses were affected by this. We're just now slowly starting to kind of come back out of it. Even as an essential worker, me and others at my shop were affected by this when it all first started happening, right? No one was going anywhere. And now all of a sudden, for whatever reason in the automotive realm, people have been bringing their cars in more and more and more, so we're starting to see a lot of work, which is good, right? So if you're busy, hopefully you're making a decent paycheck, right? But the thing I want you guys to remember and don't forget about is that this could very well happen again here going into the winter, okay? This scary thing that's going on with the pandemic can very well start or pick all back up again come wintertime. Now, I'm not trying to scare you or nothing like that. Maybe we find some kind of cure and everything kind of dilutes itself down over time, and we just see increases as far as businesses opening up and decreases and COVID cases goes down. That would be great, right? But it could also come back tenfold. Are you preparing yourself in case that happens? Have you been saving diligently since the pandemic, or since now everything's starting to come back and everyone's going back to work? Have you been making sure to start putting more and more money to the side? Because I think that's going to be very important here, especially going into the winter months. Even furthermore, you should be thinking about how to save as much as you possibly can to the side, possibly even put it into a high yield savings account. I know that Capital One has a great high yield savings account that a lot of people like. I know there's other methods that you can utilize to try to get a higher yield, like investment accounts. If it has a dividend yield and it's anywhere between 4% and 8%, that's a pretty good return rate for your money, just as long as you know that you don't need it right away and you are saving it for the future. Now, it's not going to be for a lot of people, okay, because when you start actually investing more into either your 401k or your Roth IRA or your IRA, it's monies that you can't touch, you shouldn't be touching. Even in the stock market, if you decide that that was the way that you wanted to go and you wanted to get an investment account, there's a certain startup capital that you have to have in order to open up one of those accounts. And then you have to know that should you pick a specific company and buy whatever you can afford to at the time just to take advantage of those higher yield dividends, the stock price does fluctuate. It goes up and it comes down and it goes down and then it comes back up, or it trades flat, right? It just kind of, it's here and there. It's neither really up too high, it's neither down too low. So it's going to be kind of in the middle. It is something that you should be looking at long term. One of those, you put it there, you put it towards whatever company that you feel most confident in, and then you leave it and forget it, and that's pretty much it. And then every so often you just kind of put a little bit there. that's just one way that you can take advantage of high yield growth accounts, as far as like dividend investing or using that high yield savings account, which again, you have to have a certain amount. I don't not recall what the certain amount is that you specifically have to take advantage of Capital One savings account. But it is way better than your traditional savings account that you can get from any kind of local bank. If you do have just a regular savings account, you already know you get paid like what, 1 penny per year for leaving it in savings. Everyone already knows that the dollar is not going to be worth the same this year as it is going to be next year or the year after, okay? Over time, you have inflation, okay, of the economy, you have depreciation of the US dollar. So the money, the $100 that you save today isn't going to be worth $100 come next year or 5 years down the road. At some point in time, with the inflation of the economy and the depreciation of the US dollar, that dollar is not going to be worth a full dollar anymore. Might be closer to about 80 or 90 cents, right? So just to kind of give you an idea of some things that you should be keeping in the back of your head, but make a plan. Make a plan, some kind of plan to be able to put some money aside for you and your family, whether it's in a savings account or whether or not you just have it deducted from your check every payday so you don't see it, okay? Because I have a 401k. There's a lot of other mechanics that I know, to include those are at my shop that have a 401k. It's you select the percentage of your check that you can live without, okay? 4%, 8%, somewhere in there, 10%. Maybe your shop or the corporate that you work for, or maybe the dealership that you work for offer price matching, or maybe they also have some kind of stock sharing option. I know that I knew a couple of techs from Walmart that had a stock sharing option, and what they would do is they would take X amount of their check and invest it into a 401k / stock yield for the Walmart shares, and they would match them, and when they left they could clear out if they wanted to and take it with them. Do not clear out of your 401k too early. Don't pull in when you have an emergency. The 401k should not be used as a personal savings account that you dip in and out of and pull money out as you need it. This should be money that you're stacking up for future, for way down the road, like 10, 20, 30 years down the road, because there are penalty fees for pulling out before you reach a certain age, right? Before that account has had time to mature. So if you've been saving for a year and having money go to your 401k, it's nice to see that it is progressively growing over that year. But that doesn't mean that you should take from it, because they're just going to charge you early withdrawal penalties, and that can hurt your savings, okay? That could hurt that 401k or your IRA. Now the Roth IRA, not going to get into it too much, but basically you're taxed up front. That way when you go to pull out, there's no penalty, okay? But again, it's something that you should not be using just to pull out whenever you have an emergency. That's what your savings accounts should be for. That's what your credit cards should be for. Now I know there's a lot of people out there that don't use credit cards. They either pay in cash, or if they don't have it available in cash or money saved in the bank account, then they just don't buy it. I use credit. I use various lines of credit to leverage myself with the things that I need to take care of, and then I make sure I pay it back. And me taking my check and putting a portion of it back onto the card just makes it re-available for later. So for me, if I have some kind of an emergency that pops up, I can use my credit to my advantage to leverage myself temporarily to get out of a sticky situation, whether it's I need tires, or whether or not I need brakes, or maybe I just wanted to take the family down to an amusement park or something for the day, and then the following payday you put it right back. So long as you stay on top of this, so long as you stay on top of it and can be mature about the fact that you are borrowing somebody else's money and that you can and you are responsible about putting it back on there, I don't see a problem with using credit to help you out from your day-to-day or throughout the year when bigger things happen, okay? It's a fact of life. Business owners use credit to also leverage themselves in certain situations, right? Even guys that are multimillionaires that have these ginormous houses and have numerous houses, okay, they use those lines of credit to establish themselves, use it as leverage to turn it into a rental property to make. They used it to create a passive income for themselves to buy another property. So it really just depends on what your plan is and how you're utilizing credit for this kind of stuff. One more thing that I want to talk about is I also hear from time to time that, oh, tools are an investment because you work the job and yada yada. Yes and no. You are investing in your career. You are spending money on a tool as an investment to make your job faster, but it's a depreciating asset and it doesn't really make you money unless you can pay for it within a few jobs. Let's face it, most of you guys out there are not working for yourselves unless you're working under the table or in front of your house. You're working for somebody else. And those of you that are working for somebody else, unless you're true flat rate and you're hourly, like a lube tech, or maybe you're part of the hybrid system like myself, where I get paid hourly and then a commission if I can exceed the given hours that I'm given to make the commission. Once you get into that commission realm, then yes, because that speed helped you to create more income because it made you faster, right? So in that aspect, yeah, I guess it was an investment and it can pay itself off in a short period of time. But if you're just strictly hourly, then that is not really an investment. That is just a depreciating asset that you purchased. And if you put it on credit at a high APR, like I have on some of the tools that I owe money to, whether it's Snap-on or Matco, the only two people that I owe money to, yeah, that APR kind of takes up that commissional gap. So for me, they're kind of depreciating assets for the time being until I can pay the credit off. So if you're going to open credit, use it to your advantage to get yourself into a good position, and then from that, make sure you work hard to pay it off faster. Always have a plan when going forward, especially looking here to the near future, okay? Because we don't know what's going to happen here in the winter months. Maybe nothing happens. Maybe everything starts to slowly go back to some kind of normality. But you need to have some kind of savings, and I think that we should spend more of our time thinking about how much we really need to save for something like this. Do you recall where you were back in February, March, or April, May, somewhere in there, when you were without a job, when you had no income, or when you were just relying on whatever little bit of Social Security or maybe unemployment that you got? Do you remember how much you wish you would have had and how long you had to go before you can get back to work? And then in that time frame, was that minimum amount that you had really enough to make it a happy, comfortable lifestyle? I would like you to think about that. Think about how much of a gap it was before you got back to some kind of rhythm, back with your job, back in the full swing of getting paid. Think about how long you went without work, how much you probably should have had saved, and then I want you to try to make some kind of plan to save that should something like that happen again. And then instead of just getting to that goal, maybe add to the goal, okay? Maybe you have small stepping stones. Okay, this is my first goal. I'm gonna save, $1,000. Maybe your second goal is to save $2,000, and then every single year or so, you just kind of little by little just keep adding to it. And then eventually I think you're gonna be surprised with just how much you were able to save, so long as you stay on top of it, right? You just keep putting a little bit. You don't have to put your whole check in it, just a little bit at a time. Do that for me. We'll see you guys here in a little bit for TGIF. Cheers and deuces.